Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace be unto you. Welcome to the Sajdah Morning Coffee Talk. And this morning, we're going to be talking about healing from financial trauma. So don't go anywhere. I'll give you all a few minutes to get up, get in the room, let you get your coffee. I already got mine. And let the algorithm let y'all or remind y'all that we're here. So we'll be back about 3 minutes. See you soon.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Happy Friday. Peace be unto you. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm sipping on me some, I didn't drink most of it while I was waiting on y'all to get here, but I'm sipping on me some good old coffee. I wanted to take a moment today to talk about healing from financial trauma. This is a subject that I have been teaching and exploring and talking about since I started coaching, or even since I started emotional intelligence training back in 2005. Because with most of the entrepreneurs, excuse me, that I come across and that I meet, the majority of our challenges are some type of trauma, and some type of trauma that really can be categorized as financial trauma. So if you hire me as a money psychology coach, or as you want me to help you work on your relationship with money, we do a lot of work around financial trauma. And it's something I've been doing for a very long time. But because it's becoming even more common today, I thought we would do a financial trauma boot camp. And you can see here by the flyer, we have it coming up on August 11th from 6 to 9 p.m. It's 3 hours. It's $299. But if you bring a student, you get 50% off. So you just have to, when you purchase, use the QR code. And when you purchase, put the promo code students, plural, in there, and you'll get 50% off. But it's worth it. It's worth it because we're going to go through some intense healing around trauma. And so what I want to do today is I want to break down for us. I have a video I'm going to show us. I want to break down exactly what trauma is and what it does to the brain. And then I want to come back and give you 8 signs. It'll be 8 or more signs that you are dealing with financial trauma, or that you have financial trauma that you're living with that is impacting your ability to have a better relationship with money. Okay. This is a very deep subject. It's something that a lot of times people don't want to talk about. A lot of people don't tackle it. One, because both oftentimes the teacher and the student thinks the person teaching has to be perfect. But let me tell you something. Just by tackling it, digging into it, coming up with some tools, and we go through the boot camp, I'm going to give you some tools to help you figure out how to handle it. We're going to really intensely focus on this, because that intense focus is going to help us in our subconscious to come up with solutions so that we can overcome it. Until we heal these traumas, it's going to be very difficult for us to do business with one another. It's going to be very difficult for us to unite. It's going to be very difficult for us to literally just thrive financially. And even if we are thriving financially, a lot of us won't live up to our potential because we're dealing with trauma. It's just simple. If you're making $150,000 a year, $200,000 a year, you're trying to get to that $400,000 level, trauma is probably what's standing in your way. If you're on unemployment and you're really struggling to figure out, how do I even just get a job? 9 times out of 10, trauma is standing in your way. Because without the trauma, you may have the wherewithal to be creative in your selection process and your search for a job, or in creating your own job. And then once you create your own job, what's preventing you from expanding? Oftentimes it's the trauma. Now, before I show you this video, where I want you to really pay attention to what trauma is. Now, trauma's not always bad. Trauma is a great way for you to use it as an opportunity to heal and to see where it is that you've gone off the rail. And it's likely not your fault. That's the other reason why we don't like to talk about this, because we don't want to be blamed. But more than likely, it's not your fault. It's just that your statute of limitations on blaming somebody else has run out. And it's time for you and I to step up and take responsibility. We got to do it ourselves. So when you're looking at this video on trauma, this is going to be talking about trauma in general. And I thought this was a good place for us to start today so that you understand the importance of the boot camp. This is going to be talking about trauma in general. And what I want you to do is to start overlaying and thinking about how this applies to financial trauma, okay? Situations that have impacted your finances, or a better way to say it, situations that have impacted your relationship with money. Just like you have situations that impact your relationship with your children, or your husband, or your parents, or your sibling, or your employer, or whomever, you have situations that impact your relationship with money. So take a look at this video, grab your coffee, sit back, and I want you to really, really pay attention. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to give you 8 signs that you are suffering from financial trauma, and you may not even know it. And many of us are suffering, and we have more than 8 of these signs that we're battling through. All right. This boot camp, I'm telling you, is going to change your life. And if you bring a student starting Monday, the promo code is going in Monday. All you have to do is put in students and you get 50% off. But really bring a student. Really, really, let's teach young people. I think teenagers and children as young as 6 and 7 years old should be in this boot camp. Why? Because it's going to give them the tools that they need so that when things are happening to them, they're not impacted the way a lot of us were. It's just very old school, you know, when we just go, look, you on your own, they on their own, 18 years old, get out. A lot of people got trauma from that. They turned 18, their parents said, you got to get up out of here. And there was no support for them. One of the biggest ways to help somebody get through trauma is to be there for them. See, part of the abandonment or going through things by yourself is what creates trauma. You know, you have whole families that have gone through homelessness together and a lot of different challenges, and they're less traumatized than people who go through these things by themselves. So this rugged individualism that our society has us all living in is dangerous in more ways than one. Okay, I'll be right back. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear this okay.
Most important thing to know is that there's a difference between trauma and stress. As I like to say to people, life sucks a good amount of the time. We all have jobs and situations that are really unpleasant. But the moment that the situation is over, it's over. The problem with trauma is that when it's over, your body continues to relive it. My name is Bessel van der Kolk. I'm a psychiatrist, neuroscientist, and author of the book, The Body Keeps the Score. I got interested in trauma on my first day working at the Veterans Administration. 1978 was the year, and the Vietnam War was over by about 6 or 7 years. The very first day that I met Vietnam veterans, I was just blown away. These were guys who were my age, who were clearly smart and competent and athletic. And they clearly were just a shadow of their former self. Their bodies were clearly affected by trauma, and they had a very hard time connecting with new people after the war. Around that time, a group of us started to define what trauma is. And in the definition of PTSD, we write, these people have been exposed to an extraordinary event that is outside of normal human experience. And in retrospect, that shows us how ignorant and narrow-minded we were, because it turned out that this is not an unusual experience at all. People usually think about the military when they talk about trauma, but at least 1 out of 8 kids in America witness physical violence between their parents. A larger number of kids get beaten very hard by their own caregivers. A very large number of people in general, but women in particular, have sexual experiences that were clearly unwanted and that left them confused and enraged. So, unlike what we first thought, trauma is actually extremely common. There's a lot of debate of what a trauma is to this day. But basically, trauma is something that happens to you that makes you so upset that it overwhelms you. There is nothing you can do to stave off the inevitable. You basically collapse in a state of confusion, maybe rage, because you are unable to function in the face of this particular threat. But the trauma is not the event that happens. The trauma is how you respond to it. One of the largest mitigating factors against getting traumatized is who is there for you at that particular time. When, as a kid, you get bitten by a dog, it's really very scary and very nasty. But if your parents pick you up and say, "Oh, I see that you're really in bad shape, let me help you," that dog bite doesn't become a big issue because the foundation of your safety has not been destroyed. We are profoundly interdependent people, and as long as our relationships are intact, by and large, we're pretty good with trauma. It's a subjective experience, and what may be traumatic for you may not be traumatic for me, depending on our personality and our prior experiences. The problem with trauma is that it starts off with something that happens to us, but that's not where it stops, because it changes your brain. Much of the input of trauma is in that very primitive survival part of your brain that I like to call the cockroach brain. There's a part of you that just picks up what's dangerous and what's safe. And when you're traumatized, that little part of your brain, which is usually very quiet, continues to just send messages. I'm in danger. I'm not safe. That event itself is over, but you continue to react to things as if you're in danger. We're talking about survival. We're talking about staying alive. And so some people go into fight flight, or on a more primitive level, people's brain shuts down and they collapse. You have these automatic responses that are not a product of your cognitive assessment, they're a product of your animal brain trying to stay alive in the face of something that part of your brain interprets as a life threat. And the problem then becomes that you are not able to engage or to learn or to see other people's point of view or to coordinate your feelings with your thinking. Traumatized people have a tremendous problem experiencing pleasure and joy. But the core issue is our hormones and our physiological impulses that have to do with survival. Your body keeps mobilizing itself to fight. You have all kind of immunological abnormalities, endocrine abnormalities, and that really devastates your physical health also. Oftentimes the physical problems are longer lasting than the mental problems. And the other thing that is terribly important is the impact of poverty, or the impact of racism, or the impact of unemployment. There's other societies that are much more trauma savvy than we are, where there is not an enormous amount of income inequality. Healthcare is universal, childcare is universal. A culture like that really looks at what are the antecedents for certain forms of pathology. So the big issue is a political issue. How do we rearrange our society to really know about trauma so that people who grow up under extreme adverse conditions can become full-fledged members of society? The sense of community and people being there for each other is a critical part of surviving and thriving.
I hope that really helped you understand trauma a little bit more. There are a lot of things that stuck out in that video for me, and that is how trauma impacts our organs, how when we live under adverse conditions without a sense of community, it can really impact you. Some people are so afraid of being vulnerable that they like to suffer alone. That in and of itself is traumatic. There's something about the human interaction, the human DNA, the human molecular, energetic, vibrational system that if you're going through something, if you're in pain, having somebody there with you or somebody that can be connected to you, somebody you can reach out to, somebody who's reaching out to you can make all the world of difference. It will help your body to stop reacting as if it's in danger once you are actually out of danger. All right, so let me give you the 8 signs of financial trauma. You can use the QR code here to sign up for the financial trauma boot camp. It's very, very important. I see this over and over and over and over again. Probably 90% of the people who I start working with, especially from underserved communities, marginalized communities, are people dealing with trauma. Just the fact that I said in the book, the chapter 1 of the book, marginalization is an equal opportunity offender, speaks to the fact that there's some trauma there. And I think that for so long, because a lot of people just don't like this subject and it's scary, but that's because it's what we really need to pay attention to. Okay. There are so many things in our society, not only just marginalization, inequities, racism. There's a lot of good stuff. So let's talk about the 8 signs. Number 1, and this is in no particular order, I'm just naming them I'm just numbering them. Financial dependency. Some people grow up seeing in a financially dependent state. They never really learn to be independent. And everything that they get, they got to get it from somebody else because that's how they were raised and that's how they see the world. So maybe instead of having a driver's license, they always ask somebody for a ride. Maybe instead of having a job, they're always asking somebody for money, or their mindset is restricted to them having a very small or a low job. low-paying job, excuse me, or a low-paying job. And they don't think about getting another job or working extra hours because their mindset is all about, I'm just going to get it from somebody else. These are the kind of people who go out and seek and become gold diggers, and put it that way. You got men and women who are gold diggers. They don't think about how can I better myself? How can I be more creative? How can I open a business so that I can make more money myself? They try to go date and marry somebody so that they can live off of their money. That's a codependency, a financial dependency. And that's a sign that you are dealing with financial trauma and you need to sign up for the boot camp. The other one is compulsive spending. Some of us just, they used to say back in the day, our money just burns a hole in our pocket. As soon as we get it, not because we need to be buying stuff, but we're just doing stuff. Just burns a hole in our pocket. Again, that's financial trauma because it makes us feel good to be a compulsive spender. It makes us feel good. We feel bad and we go, let me go on Amazon. And sometimes we don't even know that we're going into that traumatic state of mind. We're just compulsively spending, but we don't know what it is. That's why it's important to check in on yourself. And we're going to give you tools so that you learn how to do that during the boot camp. How do you check in yourself? Check in with yourself so you catch yourself before you start doing a lot of compulsive spending. The next one, you can be underspending. You could be extremely frugal. There's some people who are just afraid to spend money. They've gone through so much trauma that if they got to buy something, it takes them a few days or even months to buy it because they're just afraid to let go of that money. And they just keep hoarding. And they don't even realize that as long as you're keeping a lot of money in the bank for a long-term period of time, you're just losing. But they don't want to let go because they're so scared. They're frugal. That's a sign that you may be suffering from trauma and you need to sign up for the boot camp. Some people respond to their financial trauma by being workaholics. They've been through something. They say, man, this ain't never happening to me again. I'm getting ready to work my butt off. I've been through this one where I'm just going to work. I don't care. 24/7. I'm just going to push because I'm not going through this again. That's financial trauma. Okay. And some of you all may be saying, let me take a break here. Well, who are you to teach us? See, nobody can really teach you about trauma without having gone through trauma themselves, without being in trauma themselves, because nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. So don't wait for that perfect teacher, that perfect person. Don't wait until you get to a certain point. Start tackling this financial trauma stuff now. Number 5, financial avoidance or denial. Some people just avoid their bills. They don't open the mail. They deny. They get so nervous that they can't really talk about it. They may use deceptive intelligence and go, you know what, I'm just going to pray extra hard. But that denial is then financial trauma. And it's okay. It's not your fault. See, these financial traumas are the one things that we get so embarrassed about. Some of us will talk about being raped or beaten before we'll talk about financial trauma, financial mistakes that we may have made that put us in a bad situation and we need to help getting out of, and we're embarrassed to talk about, man, I need help. It's okay. I had to learn that, part of my personal trauma is rooted in just who I am and my personality. I started reading at 4, was always very smart, always got good grades. So when I got older, And I wasn't always able to get 100% on things in life. I wasn't always able to get an A+ on things with life. I had to learn, even from my business partner, that we can move forward as entrepreneurs, even if things aren't perfect. Because I was like, I would panic. No, we got to wait. No, hold on. We got to wait. He would be like, girl, come on, let's go. And in the corporate world, I got a chance to just live that way. See, I was able to avoid fixing that trauma in myself or even facing it, because in the corporate world, you can waste as much money as you need just by making sure everything gets perfect. And if you feel traumatic, you can just get in a meeting and bring up how much stuff is wrong. And 9 times out of 10, somebody will delay the start of the project or delay the opening of the business or whatever, because you just listed out 5 additional things that are wrong. But a lot of times as an entrepreneur, this is where being in corporate for a long time can hurt you. You got to keep going. Your retail space may not look perfect. It may not look like those downtown, but you got to just come on. Get these sandwiches out here, make this ice cream, do whatever it is you got to do. Your office may not be perfect. You may not have the glass wall and your logo in the paint and all of that stuff. You might have to just put the office together, go to a used furniture store, get your desks and stuff, make it look decent, and just roll. So that level of trauma can impact you when you start opening up a business. That trauma, like what I had to work through, where you feel like you have to always be perfect. And then you feel unworthy when you can't check all the boxes. That's a direct response to how we're taught in school. You're going to check all the boxes. And we're graduating from college. There's this big push that last semester or that last year to interview. And there's all these lists of things that you have to have. And you're just trying to check all these boxes. And if you don't have all your boxes checked, then you're looked at as being unprepared. Same thing when you're getting ready to go to college, right? Right before you end high school, there's all these boxes that you got to check. If you don't have the boxes checked, then they're like, okay, you ain't really ready. This sets up a pattern in us. Okay. Number 6, lack of financial boundaries. There are some people that don't have boundaries about anything. Some people don't respect other people's boundaries. And then some people don't have boundaries themselves. Some people don't have boundaries around their own finances. Some people are emotionally bullied and blackmailed and abused to the point where they can't have boundaries around their finances, or they risk being abused. That happens a lot in relationships. Where a person feels like, everything I have, I can't have any money to myself because he or she is going to take it. He or she wants it. And then they end up bullying me and blackmailing me emotionally out of my money. So I have really nothing to call my own. And that creates a chronic level of trauma in addition to the abuse. But lack of financial boundaries. Some people do it in a more covert type of way, where they try to latch on to you because they feel like you have something. Maybe they know you're going to eventually go out to eat. And if they hang out with you, maybe they can, get a free meal. And sometimes these things can be done. You got to really know your boundaries. And we're going to talk about that during the boot camp. You're going to have to really develop your boundaries. Let me give you an example of something that happened to me. Let's see, when was this? I can't remember the year, but it was somewhere around maybe my senior year of college. And I was up here in Chicago for some kind of internship for a couple of weeks. And I had met this guy, and I had this little studio that the organization I was working with had rented for us, and I was staying in the studio. So I met this guy, and we would go have coffee, and I would see him every morning when I would be going to work on this internship. This is an internship. I got fired from this internship, actually, not because of the dude, but because I was trying to be a stockbroker, and I wasn't good at it. I was trying to get into the brokerage world, and that just wasn't my thing. I wasn't aggressive enough. I needed to understand. My perfection wouldn't let me do it. But let me tell you, so we were super busy, not a lot of free time. And every time I would be going back and forth home, I would either catch the bus or walk. I would see him, and we would talk. We'd go out to lunch. We'd have coffee and talk about what we're going to do when we're graduating. And he was saying how he wanted to open up some kind of financial services firm or an insurance firm. And we would just talk and write out these goals, and really cool friendship. At least that's what I thought. And I don't know. I think I always presented myself like I had money, but even though back then I was broken and broke, what he didn't know is I was going back to that little studio, probably eating peanut butter and crackers, or buying like a $5 pizza and eating a slice a day or something like that. But he didn't know that, right? And he started just attaching himself. Every time I would see him, he would just come and attach himself. And I remember one time we had a corporate account at the coffee shop that was downstairs in the building. And I went down there. They said, your friend came and got some coffee. And so you've like basically like you've used your coffee allotment for the day. And I was like, what? Because I'm counting on that free little coffee to get me a little snack, because I'm up here trying to live, and this internship ain't really paying nothing. And I had another job in the evening where I was waiting tables at a hotel. And so I ain't had no time to be paying for nobody's food. But what I realized that this guy has started doing, I don't even think he liked me. He never tried to go any further than just hanging out and having coffee, but he was just attaching himself because he knew that there could be certain benefits from attaching himself to me and the group. And so he pretended like he liked me so that he could just come around. And then he started putting things on my tab at the coffee shop. But here's the thing. What I realized from that was I had to put some boundaries around myself and some financial boundaries around what I was doing. Because here I didn't know this person that well. I'm going up to the counter at the coffee shop, and he's standing right there, and I'm saying to him, to the person, I'm with such and such company. Here's my ID number. Here's my badge number, or whatever. I can't remember how we had to identify ourselves. And he's saying that. Well, I didn't understand that people steal. And so I didn't understand that I needed to put those types of boundaries around people. Folks didn't need to be hearing your account number or, going with you as you're putting things on the company tab or whatever. So that's an example of financial boundaries. So in both situations, both me and him are dealing with financial trauma and would need this boot camp. All right. Number 7 is, we talked about this a lot. Scarcity mindset, being fearful and competitive with one another. We got that bad in the Black community. We see somebody else with a new car, we go run, we start getting online trying to shop for a car ourselves. We see somebody with a certain outfit on, and we got to go look for that outfit. I don't care what that person has. If we feel like it's better than ours, in a lot of cases, we get triggered. That's a trauma response, that competitiveness. The scarcity mindset, where you act like there ain't enough. We're going to talk about that and figure out how to deal with that. And then there's the excessive risk aversion sign. What does that mean? You're just afraid to take a risk. No matter what, you're afraid. You're like, I ain't doing it. I'm scared. I don't want anything to happen to my money. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about those 8 signs. Let me see. I'm sorry. I did not acknowledge you all in the chat today. Good morning, Mother. Let's see who else we got here. Brother Ronald says, yes, absolutely. 704 Joe says, good morning, Black woman. And let's see, Sister Betty is in the house, says happy Friday. Nubia Latifa, I'm 100% not vulnerable and don't see that happening, honestly. Sister Nubia, you know what? You don't have to. I think a lot of us have been through so much trauma that unless we get hurt or abused, we're not going to be 100% vulnerable. So I don't think you should look for 100% vulnerability. I think you should just identify, and this boot camp can help you with that. Identify the top areas that you need to work on so that you free yourself and free your central nervous system from the trauma, and you'll begin to manifest more. You'll have better relationships with people, relationships with money. So don't look for 100% vulnerability. I don't know if that's even possible in this world that we live in. Nana Kosea Venture says 100. Let's see. Nubia Latifa, you said society shames us about finances. That's why I don't share anything except with my mom. You know what's interesting about finances is that not only in this society, in America, society shames you about finances, but society also criminalizes people that don't have money. I was in, yesterday I had a meeting and I was in a coffee shop waiting for the person I was meeting with to come. And there was a Black man who came in. You could tell that maybe he had some mental illnesses. He had a big backpack, but he had it on backwards. So, normally where the big part of the backpack is in the back, he had it in the front. And, his, grooming wasn't necessarily what it should be. And when he walked in, everybody started, I'm just watching the people, they start clutching themselves and clutching their purses. He's kind of mumbling to himself a little bit. And he walked up and he asked for some ice water. And they gave him some ice water and he went back outside and sat down. But I was watching and I said, if he made any sudden move, they would have arrested him. And we criminalize people who don't have money, who don't have things, people who are homeless, they get criminalized. And so, yes, that is a trauma response where you say, I don't share anything except maybe with one person, whether it be your mother or your family. That's a trauma response. The beautiful thing about the way I teach money psychology and even this financial trauma boot camp is that you can be in the comfort of your own home and work on your own stuff. If you really, really want to heal, it is important to get some help because you can't see past your own blind spots. And I would say, even if you went into that coaching or counseling session and you're not 100% vulnerable, because it's very difficult for you to be, go for 20% vulnerability and get yourself some relief. But the key thing is that we have to give ourselves some relief from the trauma. That's why we're always fussing about why we don't unite. That's why we're always criticizing one another. That's why we're always negative about doing business with one another. This is trauma. These are trauma responses because along the way, somebody created experiences that impacted us negatively that our body, our psyche is still responding to. And I'm going to tell you really, sis, the reason why it's really, really important, and this is for all of us, not just sis, that we seek relief from financial trauma, because it's just like any other trauma. It's just like of any other abuse. It's going to keep you in fight or flight, which is going to affect your organs. It's going to make you have high blood pressure because your body is not thinking about, okay, we're safe. I can calm down and everything can go back into working order. You're always in an emergency state, fight or flight. So your blood pressure is constantly pounding up against the walls of your arteries, your veins. Your blood pressure is pounding, beating up your heart just like this. Boom, 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 beating up your kidneys. It's why a lot of times we end up on dialysis. And so then now all you got to do is introduce some bad medicine into our community and we all in organ failure. Same thing with the secretion of hormones, the endocrine system and our other hormones. It's why a lot of times as women, when it's that time of the month, if we're under stress, we feel worse because it impacts the way our organs function, the hormones, the secretion of fluids. This is what this trauma does for us. What kind of traumas? Divorce, homelessness, eviction, a sudden loss of money, somebody stealing money from you, somebody taking money from you, going through a situation where you got to give up half of your money. Whatever it is, if it's a trauma, it is impacting your cellular structure, your DNA. And guess what? You alter that. Next thing you know, we got diabetes. Our cholesterol is out of control. We have cancer because our bodies are not designed to always be in fight or flight. Our body is designed so that when we're truly in danger, then our body adjusts so that we can get ourselves out of danger. Adrenaline flows faster, hormones change, we get stronger, we get faster. But guess what? When the brain is telling the heart and everything else, okay, danger, danger, redirect the blood flow, what's happening? Your organs aren't getting the blood flow because the brain is redirecting the blood flow to your muscles. Because it wants you to be able to lift that car off of your baby if you're in danger. It wants you to free yourself. It wants you to run away. So all that muscle, that blood is going to the muscles. So it's racing past the organs, going to the muscles, and it's neglecting some of your other organs. I could go on and on and on into what can happen to you when you're constantly under trauma. So I encourage each and every one of us, seek some form of relief. You can sign up, use the QR code right here for the Financial Trauma Boot Camp. It's August 11th, 6 to 9 p.m. On Monday, if you want to bring a student, you can put in the promo code STUDENTS, plural, students. And if you put in the promo code students, you can bring a student and you'll get 50% off. Okay. Early bird special goes between now and Monday. Starting Monday, students can come for 50% off. Put the QR code or put the promo code students in there. Somebody type students, plural, in the chat for me. Sister Monica, I see you. Assalamu alaikum, she says, and great Friday all. Wa alaikum salam, sis. Is the reduced rate for the student that is brought to the boot camp? Yes, the reduced rate is for both of you guys. So thank you very much. All right. Yes, the reduced rate is brought to both of you all because what's so important to me is that our young people learn these techniques and these tools. Our young people are already stressed out. They're 11, 12 years old. They need tools. Our suicide rates in our community are going up. It's sad. Our students, our youth are overweight. They're going through a lot because their stress levels are through the roof. And a lot of it is because We're so busy trying to make sure that they have their science and their math and all their STEM classes, but we're not teaching them social and emotional intelligence. We're not teaching them coping skills or critical thinking skills, so they don't know what to do. They don't know how to get out of it. Okay, so the promo code is students. And matter of fact, just for y'all here today, when we get off of here, I will go out and activate that code and make sure it starts today. Okay, and you can get out there and bring a student. I would say reserve your space, do it today. It's going to be 50% off. Use the promo code students, and I'll fix it when we get off of here. So it'll start today. And just find a student to bring. Find somebody to bring. Have them sit with you, or y'all can FaceTime or FaceTime and watch it together. But it's very, very important that we start to raise the awareness of our youth around these subjects. Okay, y'all. Any questions, thoughts before I go on the financial trauma boot camp? Okay, so if not, with that, family, you got the QR code. Hit the super chat button if you like this. Make sure you like and subscribe, but share. QR code is right there. It's also on all my social media pages. Go out there and bring a student, and let's start healing. Let's start healing together so we can get these businesses open. We can become conscious entrepreneurs and just raise our awareness. All right, family. Peace and blessings. Love you all. I'll get that QR code or that promo code. I keep saying the wrong thing. I'll get that promo code updated soon as we get off of here today, and you can go right out here and get your student discount or bring a student, and you can take advantage of the discount as well. All right. Peace and blessings, family. Love you all. See you all tomorrow morning.